I made the worst financial decision of my life. But the truth is, it was also the best one. So what was good kind of ended badly.
What are we doing, Hans?
Nate just called me, said, what does it mean when you start your car and it's knocking? Does that mean I blew the motor up? Yep, Nate, that's exactly what that means.
Still don't regret it.
Oh yeah?
So if any of you watched my last video, you probably saw how I bought the car to drive down the West Coast and then ended up getting it back to Utah and the motor blew up. So after that, I just took it back to the shop, let it sit, didn't touch it for a few months. So it is currently August 23rd of 2023. So I bought the car just under a year ago.
And over the last couple months of owning this car, I had gotten pretty attached to it. So I decided I was gonna do whatever it took to get it back on the road.
Here's the thing, I haven't made this video because A, it wasn't really that interesting to me, and B, I was still getting over the emotional damage of losing so much money on it. But now that time has passed and I've moved on to new things, I wanted to make this video just so you guys could laugh with me and laugh at me because this is pretty funny.
All right, finally. All right, here we are. It's been about a week. I bought the motor last Sunday and finally it's here. All right, we have it. I thought it would be more packaged up than that. It's just wrapped in bubble wrap. Well, obviously, since I'm driving, I'm gonna do the safe thing and not strap it in. I watched a video on how to pull a motor in this, and the guy, he's like, you are not good enough to not have a plan.
It's a big event. You need to plan.
So naturally, I'm just gonna pull the motor. There's like a book, and it's 101 projects for your Porsche. So naturally, I didn't get that because maybe I should have gotten that.
Your car is a piece of shit. It's broken. And I don't know if I have faith in you fixing it. But we'll see.
All right, it has been roughly a week since I bought the motor for this. Everything should be here, so I should be able to just drop the motor in place. I made the mistake of unplugging the computer in the car before I unhooked the battery, so that could be bad. The other question in my mind is how I'm going to get the transmission on alone. It's not very heavy, but it's just kind of awkward to fit on everything. We're gonna start a clock and see how long it takes me to put this in, because my guess is I can have it in before like 10 o'clock tonight. All right, update. It's currently 12:12. I was covered in head to toe in grease, so I kind of cleaned up a little bit. There's so many parts in this everything that honestly I don't remember how to put together. Hey, but look at this. I can drive a forklift. This is pretty fun. Imagine I just like hit something. We have the motor in here. The wiring harness is pulled through the back. This is what I'm not sure about because I didn't unplug the battery before I unplugged all these, and I don't know enough about this stuff to know if this just is dead now. So the only things holding the motor right now are that ratchet strap right there, and then besides that ratchet strap we have the front motor mount on. Flywheel bolts. You torque them and then you stretch them. They're one-time use bolts, and then they're like, oh, you torque them to 19 pounds. So I torqued them to probably like 500,000. All right, it's 5 o'clock. We're at the final few stages. The oil is draining out of the car. I didn't drain it before I put the motor in. All right, now we're putting the exhaust on, doing the same method as we did with the transmission because the transmission worked perfectly doing it that way. Also, remember, I had no prior experience changing the motor. I was solely relying on YouTube and the fact that everybody told me I couldn't do it. When I took the motor out, I had a friend help me, but then when I put it in, I was doing it completely alone. You would not believe how difficult it is getting a motor into a car completely by yourself, especially when it's your first time. It was a nightmare, and it was the middle of the night and I hadn't had any energy drinks of any sort. So by now everything in the car was ready to go. All I needed to do was to put coolant in it, and at this point it was like 7 in the morning and people were starting to get to work, so I couldn't finish the project that night. By now it was like 16 hours into the project, and that's where I left it. So then that night I rolled it into the shop, I put coolant in it, and then I got to start it. Okay, this is it. This is the moment I've been waiting for. As far as I know, everything is together. It's the moment of truth right here. I'm gonna put this on engine start. Okay. I forgot how much I love driving. This motor has almost 50,000 miles less than the original one had. At this point, the motor was in the car, and much to my surprise, just like everyone else, it actually ran and drove just fine and had no issues. Shocking. Anyways, I was in over my head with how much money I spent by so much. Let's break this down. So first I had to buy the car, and I paid $5,000. Next, I had to spend about $1,000 in random parts. So at this point, I'm $6,000 into the car. But then with all the additional costs, it racked it up a bit more. And the motor itself cost $4,000. So in total, I paid $5,000 for the car, $1,000 for random parts, and then an additional $4,000 to replace the motor. I was $10,000 in the hole with this car, and it was worth maybe $5,000. And the chances of something else happening were pretty high, so I decided to sell it. And I sold it for $6,000. So anyways, guys, I walked away with $4,000 less in my bank account, but all in all, it was a win. I got a whole bunch of good memories in driving down the West Coast, and also learned how to change a motor. So hopefully you enjoyed that, and best of luck to whoever owns it now. I wish you the best.